Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Unique Peace. I am Janice. I am a Reiki Master Teacher and self-care coach here on Long Island, New York. And today I am joined by the wonderful Joe Perreta. He is a psychic medium located in Manhattan. He is also connected with the Forever Family Foundation, and we'll talk to Joe in just a minute. I want to remind everybody that on October 17th, I will be offering my healing services for Angels for Abby in Westbury, New York at Let's Craft. If you want more information about that, do reach out to me. And on October 22nd, I will be doing a rock and healing event with Orlando from 94.3 The Shark here on Long Island. Again, offering my services as a medium for a wonderful cause, raising money for Angela's house. And now I would like to welcome Joe Perreta. He is a wonderful connection to have. I first met Joe when I was taking classes with Kim Russo, whom I love and adore, and she's awesome. And we were introduced to Joe, and Joe has been in the industry for a while, and I don't want to say industry, but he's been doing this for quite some time, and he's going to share his story with us. So welcome, Joe.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And how are you on this lovely morning?
I'm doing good. It's gloomy. It's very, very gloomy. I have a giant iced coffee in here, so I'm alert.
All on.
Yes.
So you, like I said, I had met you when I was taking classes with Kim Russo, and you had been doing this for a while. So kind of walk us through how you met Kim and how you discovered your medium, or is it something you've always known?
You know what? So I'll answer that last part first. So I've always been a medium. I mean, I'm sure you hear that a lot from people. I mean, you too, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time.
Didn't realize it. Yeah, didn't realize it. I mean, I just thought that I was a wuss and was afraid of the dark until I was 20 something. You know what I mean? Because I would wake up and always feel like there was people like in my room, and I thought that was a normal experience. And then when I did my first reading on Kim, actually it was the first reading I had ever done, which is like kind of funny. I was like, oh, that's what that feeling is. Okay. I was like, so I'm not crazy, like or like this.
Yeah,
like,
you do
big
feel
baby.
sometimes like you're
I was
crazy.
like 23 years old. Like, why am I still waking up? Like, I don't want to see anything. Leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like freaking out. So I had always had those experiences, and I knew I was psychic. Like I had prophetic dreams my whole life. My whole family had them, so it was super normal. I never, thank goodness, my family never was like trying to pathologize me or something.
Right.
So I just kind of like it just sort of happened. I feel like one day I decided like I was gonna lean into the whole like spiritual psychic thing and just see where it takes me, and here I am. Over 10 years later, it just kind of snowballed. But meeting Kim was interesting because she's actually knows my cousin. So I have a cousin who's a professional astrologer. She's like, she'll never call herself famous, but she's a famous astrologer, especially in the astrology world. Like everyone knows who she is. She's been doing it for such a long time. She's so amazing. Her name's Maria DeSimone. And her and Kim had met when my cousin Maria first started doing astrology. They met in like an AOL, like, I don't know, some like
going back a while.
Yeah, going back. It was AOL. It wasn't a chat room, but it was like, I think Kim like reached out to her because she saw her writing and her videos and whatever. So they met, and I didn't know that my cousin knew her because my cousin is married into my family, but I'm Italian, so you know how it is.
Everybody's
our families have known each other forever anyway. So she's my first cousin, who's like my sister. It's her sister-in-law. So I've known her for a long time. I didn't know that she knew Kim. I knew Kim because my mom was obsessed with her show, The Haunting of.
Yep.
So my mom used to watch it. And then when I first started doing like meditating more and getting into it, I would watch her show with my mom. And I was like, if I ever talk to dead people, that's how I want to do it. I was like, I don't want to do it like anyone else. Like, that's my blueprint. It's Kim. So you could imagine my surprise when my cousin invited me to this like big astrology dinner on Long Island, and Kim walked in. And I was like, "Oh, Kim Russo doing here?" My cousin's like, "Oh, I know her. Like, it's a friend of mine." So I was like, "What?" So she sat down next to me at dinner, and Kim. So she just kind of like very nonchalantly but directly was like, "So, like you're a medium, you're gonna read me?" And I was like, "No, like I'm thinking like this is like this like celebrity medium. Oh my god, I'm freaking out." but I gave her a reading because she asked, and I felt something, and it was like such a good reading, and I didn't realize how accurate and how much of a, because you took Kim's class, so you know that she really is like a, I won't say like a strict teacher, but she's not gonna like tell you something that's not true or you're on the wrong track. Like she'll be like, listen, honey, you're not, you
Yeah.
gotta back it up and figure out exactly what's going on here. She's very truthful and will give honest
Yep.
feedback, which I didn't know about her at the time. So I just kind of thought maybe she was being nice because she knew my cousin. But that's sort of how I know her. And then really after that reading with Kim, it just kind of spiraled. I shouldn't say spiraled, snowballed. And I'm still doing it till today.
And most likely, this was not where you thought you were going.
Hell no. Although, you know what? I will share this with you. It's kind of funny. When I was little, so I wanted to be a singer. I went to school for music. Like I love music. I still do. But it was very funny. When I was little, I used to play this game in my head. So my dad always burned incense. He would clean and then he would like burn incense in the house because they smell good and it's like stronger than a candle, whatever. And I used to sit there and look at the smoke. And sometimes incense smoke will like just go straight up, and then sometimes it'll be like, depending on the wind. And I literally used to say to myself, I don't know why I used to do this all the time as a young kid. I would look at the smoke and be like, okay, if it goes up perfectly straight, then when I grow up, I'm going to be a psychic. And if it moves, I'm going to be a singer. And I don't even remember if I used to get like a real result, but it's funny that those were my two options as like a 7-year-old, which is weird because, the psychic thing, I don't even know where that came from, but I guess it was an inner knowing sort of thing that like one day I was going to be, I was going to do one of these two things. But it wasn't the plan, for sure. It was not the plan.
Yeah. And a lot of us just happen into it. And not even happen into it. It's kind of like the universe says, okay, now.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. You kind of get the call. It's almost like when you hear like nuns talk about getting the call, right? So join the church. It's a very similar thing where you might not even realize what you're answering at the time until it's sort of too late. And then you open that door and it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing this now.
Yep. And on your way, and it's great that your family never like dismissed it or made you feel odd about it or crazy. They were just like, yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
And allowed you to tap in and grow that way.
Yeah, they were super supportive and excited about it, honestly.
And as you come, like you said, 10 years later, you're still coming into your own, and you're going to be forever growing and probably forever learning new things. You are part of the Forever Family Foundation.
Yes.
Kim is, Laura Lynn is. So what is that like?
You know what? When we get together, it's amazing. I love it so much. And for those listening who don't know, the Forever Family Foundation is a nonprofit organization started by a couple who tragically, unfortunately, lost their daughter in a car accident many years ago. I think it was like 2001 or 5 or something like that. It's a while ago. And one of the founders has since passed, Fran Ginsberg, who I love so much.
I saw that.
She passed in 2020, I think, or 2021, I forget. But anyway, so the foundation basically certifies mediums, but they have a whole protocol to test us. Basically, I believe it's sort of based off of the Windbridge Institute. For anyone who doesn't know, the Windbridge Institute, if people don't know about it, it was it's a research organization where they like have certain criteria, and it's like quintuple blinded. It's scientifically based testing of mediums.
You go through a lot.
It's great. Kim and Laura, I believe, did both.
Yes, they're both
certified. I think Bobby Allison might be too. Don't quote me on that one, but I think she's another medium on Long Island. I'm sure people know Bobby. But I was too young then. I didn't know I was talking to dead people yet. I was still like, I don't even think I was out of the closet yet. So I didn't know who the hell I was at that point when Windbridge was certifying people. But anyway, so Forever Family does a very similar testing process, even though it's not like a lab situation, but you have to read a certain amount of people and they score your reading, and it has to be specific and accurate, not just accurate. And then you can work with them so that they know you're not, like some kind of con artist or delusional, or you have to show a high level of accuracy and specificity, and then you're allowed to work with them. But Forever Family is great. I mean, it helps so many people, and unfortunately, a lot of the people who go to the events for Forever Family, I would say at least 60% of them are parents who've lost children. Not the entire organization isn't for that. It's for anyone who's grieving. You could lose a pet and find comfort in forever family, but a lot of the people have losses and recent losses. You know, we do these grief retreats 4 times a year, and I usually do 2 of them. I'm actually doing the next one in October in California, and I do the one in July in Connecticut, and it's like 54 people, something like that. And you know, a lot of them have losses that are like last, you know, 3 months or something, and they're coming and they lost their husband and their son, or you know, it's just it's people who really need it. And it's, you know, it's just great to help, and it kind of reminds you of why we do what we
Right.
do. But it's also nice to have a little community of mediums. Like, you know, we've all been through the same test. We know that we can kind of talk to each other. And you know, I hate to say this way, but it's gonna sound so elitist, but there's so much bunk and like just people out there that, you know, anyone can hang up a shingle and say like, I'm a medium. You know what I mean? And it's not to disparage anyone at all, you know.
No.
But unfortunately, some people like to take advantage of that fact, or some people just, you know, kind of think they have a certain level of skill and they're not there yet. So it is nice to meet other mediums who like practice and you know, do it all the time and doing it for years, and they're really good. And it's like your own little like Hogwarts like situation, like you're with a bunch of witches all the time. It's great. It's really fun to be a part of it.
And we learn a lot. And we learn
a lot from each other, correct?
So with the Forever Family Foundation, you're bringing a lot of peace to some grieving families. So in that process and along the way, how do you personally define peace?
Oh, that's such a good question. You know what? Or I'm going to try. I know what it feels like. I could tell you if I could transmit the feeling. You know what? I think peace. We'll start with that. I think it's an inner thing. I think sometimes when people hear peace, they think like you lit candles. There's no noise. You're laying in bed. You know what I mean? There's like aromatherapy that can be peaceful, but you could also be at peace in a crowded room full of, you know, 1,000 people. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I think peace is more of a state of being or a state of mind. So I'll start there, but I think it's just being okay with where you're at, with who you are, with you know, you can still have many problems and still be at peace. So I really think it's more about just your inner, like, I don't know, are you okay right now? Like,
Right. Yeah.
are you feeling all right? Like, is there chaos? Are you anxious? Are you stressed? And again, you can still kind of be those things and still have that inner peace. I don't know if I'm really describing it. I just feel like I'm repeating peace a lot, but it's that thing that just kind of keeps you like, I don't know, grounded, centered, calm. For me, that's what peace is. That inner sort of center and calmness, I guess.
And then that leads nicely into the next question I ask everybody is, how do you find peace personally?
Mm. Well, lighting candles and not talking to anyone is part of it for sure. So I do that. But you know what? For me, I feel like peace is very linked to sort of like where I'm at emotionally, mental health. Like I really, I don't have a therapist at the moment, to be honest with you. I should, everyone should. But I feel like I learned a lot about finding my peace when I had a great therapist for years. And then COVID happened and I couldn't, you know, physically go anymore and, you know, whatever. So she gave me some really good tools. And I feel like I use those a lot to kind of re-center and refocus. You know, nothing, believe it or not, I'm such a no frills, like psychic medium. Like, the most I do is like light some candles and like sage. Like I don't even meditate as much as I should, which is really bad. So I think you can find peace, you know, just sort of like checking in with yourself and making sure you're all right and where you're at, and I guess just it's really about just like settling how you feel about things, and maybe the things that aren't going your way in your life, like just being okay with that. Like, it's peace is such a flow state thing, I think. Like, it's you can't force it. You can try to bring yourself closer to it, but you gotta just like, I think when you're just like letting things go, you know what I mean? It's also another sort of way to be peaceful. So that's kind of how I try to do it. I try to be very Buddhist about it and not be really too attached to any outcomes and situations, and just, you know, understand that life is just like gonna happen. You know what I mean? No matter, I mean, you can't, as much as we, you know, being psychics and mediums, we can get a hint every now and again about, you know, how it's gonna go, but we still don't always really know, you know? So you gotta kind of be okay with that.
All right. And that is very true. The checking in. Is there anything, and this is anything that you use that your therapist recommended that you still call on to bring some peace into your life?
Oh, all the time. So my therapist used this. I tell everyone about it. Everyone probably is like, Why is this guy still talking about this?" It was called IFS. It stands for Internal Family Systems. So it's this form of therapy where you you're still checking in with yourself, but you call them parts. So they're like parts of yourself. So you can literally, like, she would have you kind of close your eyes and tune in to, like, let's just say I'm stressed about something going on, I don't know, with my dad. So then she'd be like, okay, like, let's, do a body scan real quick, see what we feel. And then you literally, like, come in contact or talk to, it's almost like channeling, it feels like, with yourself, like that part of you that's being triggered. And maybe it's like, you'll find out it's a part from when you were like 11 years old, and that's what it's triggering. And you kind of talk to the part. And I know it sounds woo-woo to some people, but it's really not. It's just like
Actually,
a
my
way of,
sister does this.
oh,
My
I'm
sister,
obsessed with it. I just did it. I do it all the time. It's so good. And then actually, I did it last night. Honestly, I was like, why am I like, I couldn't fall asleep. I have bad sleeping patterns, so I was like, let me just like check in with myself. Um, so yeah, you can kind of just like get such good insight on your own psyche. I do it all the time, and I feel like it helps me so much because these things come up, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was bothering me, and then you can get right back to that sort of like grounded, centered state once you realize what's going on.
right. And my sister was taught to name her parts.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, you're supposed to, yeah, you name them.
so she was like, okay. She's coached me through that a couple of times.
Yeah, it
My
works, right?
therapist, yeah, my therapist hasn't gone down that road. He's like, no, I don't know if that's going to work for you. But he also gives me other tips.
Right.
That he always,
Yeah.
I think you need to meditate. I
Yeah,
think you need to
meditation is
meditate.
is another huge help, by the way, for everyone listening. I tell people to meditate all the time, and I always see people say like, "I can't, I can't do it," and I'm like, "You can. It's just not. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's a
I
simple
say that all
solution, but
the
it's not
time.
easy."
Yes,
Yeah,
it's simple but not easy.
yeah,
And speaking of simple but not easy, and I say that in the nicest way possible, sometimes it's hard to help others bring peace into their lives. But how do you bring peace to others?
I mean, through readings, for sure. I think that's the biggest way that I do give people peace. Um, but in my personal life, I also try to be. So I live in Manhattan. I have a ton of friends, in my neighborhood and stuff, and New York is a wild place when you're single, and like, being gay and single in New York is a crazy experience. There's always a party to go to. There's a lot, and it's very it can be a little bit transient in New York. People are here, they're not. So I always try to have my apartment, specifically, like my actual space, be like a nice place for people to come. And I'm always like feeding my friends, like if they're like down and out, I'm like, come over, I'll make you pasta or whatever. So on a personal level, like, I'll try to take care of people like that and just make my home like a home for them. You know what I mean? But other than that, really, I think my readings do bring a lot of grieving people a lot of peace for sure.
And going through that grieving process and knowing that part of that process is they're not going to take it out on you per se, or me per se, but it is getting past that grief to try and help them find some peace. So, um, what's a good way for us, um, as just human beings, do you think, to bring in
Mm.
peace?
Just like kind of in general. You
Yeah,
mean?
just in general.
I mean, you know what? I think, don't sweat the small stuff. You kind of have to accept that we don't really control this life. You can control your reaction to things, you can control certain little things, but life's, the universe is going to do its thing. You know what I mean? You can manifest vision board all you want. I get it. You can call in great things, but at the end of the day, like, we signed up for this classroom that we're in for however long we're here, and it's going to throw curveballs, and it's bad stuff's going to happen, and you just kind of have to, um, be okay with that, you know what I mean? And roll with it, and understand that it's something you have to go through, and it's okay to not like it and be in pain, or, have any, suffering or anything like that, and not have peace for a moment. That's fine. But you just, I think not sweating the small stuff, and really, not sweating the big stuff either. Like, understanding it's just part of it, and you have to go through it, and that's it. I think people really lose their peace when they're attached to a specific outcome, or they think something has to be this way or else it's not good. Or I think so many people get caught up in that, and they miss so much of like the good that they'll have in their lives. You know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean. This is not usually something I do with my guests, but you
Yeah.
are gifted, and this is up to you. We
Mhm.
have seashells and the watching, and she would like to know if she could ask for a message.
We could try for sure. We could definitely try. It's a little bit difficult. I do like Instagram live, so I can do it with the comments. But can we see Seashell's response? Oh, perfect. Okay, love it. I can see the comment. Okay, so you said you've been that's better. So we can do this. I've recently been guided to listening to Gregorian music, and I've seen women angel bell in my home. It's so interesting. I listen to Gregorian chants all the time. Actually, I'm like that weirdo, where I'm like, I need some peace. Like, let me put this on and get in the zone. So Kayla is your name. So Kayla, I'm just gonna ask, since we're kind of in this forum, what would you want a message on, like psychically, or a mediumship thing? Just because sometimes like this, it's not as, you know
Yes.
what I'm saying.
Yep. Let's see what she
Yeah.
responds. I appreciate this. Again,
Yeah, of course.
this is just conversation about how
Yeah.
we define peace and bring
Yeah,
peace
listen,
in.
we could bring a little peace today. That's totally fine. It's very apropos to the show here.
She said whichever, so I guess whatever you feel
Oh,
pull to.
all right. Let me see. You got me reading before noon. This is
This is difficult, I know.
this is unheard of. You know what, Kayla? The only thing I'm really picking up on, and this is just a really quick thing. I am hearing a lot about your home, where you're living, your living situation. Um, I do feel like, what are we in? This is 2024. So I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a prediction that's a little bit further out, which I don't love to do, but it's what I'm seeing. I saw between now and like 2028. So like the next 3 years, let's say, because this year's almost over. Something is changing with your living situation. Either you're moving from where you live, or actually, no, I think you might be moving, and I want to tell you why, because I feel a little bit like I feel liberated or something. Like you're going to be in a space that allows you to kind of be exactly who you are, or who you're supposed to be. Or there's something about where you're living right now, or possibly even who you're living with. I don't want to talk bad about anyone because I don't know the whole situation, but where I feel like you're not exactly able to like express yourself fully, or do what you want to do in exactly the right way. And I feel like this move is a little bit more liberating, a little bit more in line with like your soul's purpose. So, Kayla, it's okay if you're not thinking of moving right now, or even if you're like, oh my God, is this a good thing or a bit? Oh, you're planning on moving in 2025. Perfect. I'll take that. Between now and 2028, though, there is a lot of this energy. So if you're moving next year, I'll take it, but you may move again. But, I'm going to say this to you too. You may be shedding some dead weight here. So that to me could mean a breakup, or we're changing. If you live with anyone, maybe that person won't be coming to live with you in 2028 or something, or by then. There is a little bit of this, again, liberating feeling, liberation, like when nothing's weighing me down. So if anything, or anyone, you're engaged. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna break that up. That's probably not what that is, but you'll understand as time goes on, exactly what that is, or who that is that we're kind of shedding. But I feel like when you move, you're sort of away from, maybe it's family, out of a situation that's kind of pulling you down, and then mother-in-law is trying to live with us. That's what that is. Okay, my friend, don't do it.
I
Listen,
agree.
from personal life experience and just seeing how that usually goes, it's not great. But if she does move in with you, by 2028, she won't be living with you anymore. You're moving, they're changing that. But again, it feels very positive, very liberating. You'll be able to be yourself. So, enjoy that for sure. I hope that helped. I know it wasn't, a message from anyone in spirit, but I did hear about the moving thing.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you taking that moment for us. And that actually kind of goes right into the next question of what's in your toolbox. So,
okay.
In this, your toolbox. So, if you were doing an appearance or a group reading or something, and you're like feeling anxious for whatever reason, whether it's too much spirit or they're like banging at the door before they can, before it's time. And I personally, it's like, okay, the door is closed, the door is locked until I open it. And that's just how I do it. Kayla says, thank you.
You're welcome.
So what's in your toolbox? What do you go to, 5 minutes before this group meeting to get calm, centered, and find that peace?
You know what? Again, I will say I'm pretty no frills. I sometimes, if I'm feeling, if I'm feeling a lot of energy or anxious, I usually look at that as a good thing. So I just kind of I'll use that energy. Like I'm like, all right, like I'm ready. You do have to yell at them sometimes and be like, could you wait a second? Like the reading's in 4 hours. I'm not going to remember like who Suzanne is and what you're telling me about her. Like I don't know. So that right. Could you come back? Like I'm eating lunch. Leave me alone. I'm having a sandwich. Like come at 8 when I'm ready. But I will say like every now and again, if I'm going somewhere, this is more if I'm doing like, honestly, I film some TV show stuff. So if I know I'm going somewhere that's like going to be haunted or possibly negative, I will wear like, I'm not religious at all, but I grew up Catholic. So like that imagery just helps me. So I'll wear like my little cross sometimes, or I'll have like an obsidian bracelet or black tourmaline. Like I'll put on something that feels a little bit more protective. Every now and again, when I did groups in people's homes, which I started doing again, by the way, recently, I used to sometimes put one on because I was like, well, I don't know. Sometimes people's houses are not the best. the best
yeah,
energy.
No, I know.
Yeah, so sometimes you gotta kind of protect yourself a little bit. So I'll use that, and if I have it available, a little like you'll have like those sage sprays or like room clearing sprays.
Yes.
I love those too. If I can like get in a room and spray it, because people don't even, you're not burning anything, so people just think it's like someone's perfume, and you know what I mean.
Yes,
no one even knows what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah, I love those. I don't always have it though. It's kind of hard to find sometimes, but I love them.
So if anybody is looking for sprays like that you're on Long Island, I know of a couple places. I would definitely recommend Moonchild Remedies out in Massapequa. They have those sprays, and it's wonderful because, like you said, it is very much the you could think it's grandma's perfume. It could be,
right. And you don't have to light anything on fire in somebody else's space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's also in Patchogue, there is a the place escapes me. Michael will know. Michael's still watching. Please type in the place in Patchogue because I forgot the name of it. But there are places that sell the sprays. It is very, very helpful. It's very subtle.
Yeah.
People don't know what's going on. I like to surround ground and protect myself, but also it's a nice way to surround ground and protect the space.
Yeah. And you should always do it, but you'll definitely feel it when it really needs it. Like sometimes I'm like, oh boy, all right, this could go awry. I gotta change the vibe here. So some's gotta give.
Yes. So also, what else should we know about peace, about bringing it into our own lives?
You know what? That it's important. I think people forget about it sometimes. I think people look at peace like it's a luxury, or it's something like that you only get when you're at a spot. Again, especially in New York, the whole state, really, we're like obsessed with like working and go. Especially if you're like on Long Island in the city, So I think people need to, like I said in the beginning, it's an inner thing, and it's something that everyone needs that peace. And you also can't like let other people take it. I think that happens a lot in like romantic relationships, a lot of times like people will get into these toxic things and they will have no peace at all. And I don't think people realize how important it is to like to your own energy, to your soul, to like know that peace. Like you, because there was a time in my life where I didn't have it for like a good year. I was going through a lot, and I just kind of let the whole thing get to me, and I didn't have peace, and I didn't realize how important it was until after I got it back.
Yeah,
Um, that honestly, that's why when you emailed me, I was like, I have to do this podcast because I always everyone around me is probably so sick of me talking about my inner peace because I say it all the time. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, this is taking my peace away. I can't do it. And everyone's like, you sound like a lunatic. What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, listen to me. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you've never not had it. Then that's you don't know the feeling. Like, it is so terrible, and it's again, it is not something that's not essential. Like you have to remember that it's something that you need to have. It's not something that you just get in the spa. It is an everyday state of being thing, not just slices of
absolutely.
cucumbers on your eyes. You know?
It's more than that. Absolutely. And I remember the name of the place, Platchog. I do believe it is Tranquility Within. So it's a nice little shop that sells the sprays as well. So we got to get Joe a crystal shop in Manhattan.
Yeah. You know what? My a good friend of mine owns one on the Upper West Side, but I don't think she sells the spray. I gotta ask her if she has them. She's got a ton of everything else. It's such a big store. I'll text her actually and ask about the about the sprays.
But I agree with you in that peace is a necessity. It's not an afterthought. It is something that we have to bring in every day. And sometimes it's hard to do that. It is
Very much
very
so.
hard. So you your family and friends might say, "Oh, you're a lunatic," but you know what it's like to not have that peace. You've
Right.
experienced that. And now it's like, "Oh, no one's taking this from me." You
Yeah.
cultivated that.
Yep. Exactly. I
And
also think too, again, not to again, I'm not religious at all, but I am a very spiritual person, obviously. And for lack of a better word, God, I think is another like a connection to something bigger than ourselves for me is another thing that really brings me a lot of peace. Like when again, you're a medium, so you know what I'm talking about. When you're super connected to the other side, like when you're having like a really good connected day, that feeling you get really it is peace. Like uh, I know when I'm in the zone because I feel so grounded and like peaceful, and I could just feel it flowing through me. Um, and again, not everyone has to talk to dead people to have peace, obviously, but that it is that state, and I think peace is a more like sacred state of being than really anything else, honestly.
right. And I'm of the mindset uh we if we don't have peace within ourselves, we really can't help others find peace.
No, you can't. It's the same thing as like if how someone else is gonna love you if you don't love yourself. You know, how am I gonna bring you peace if I'm not, not peaceful? It's very true.
True. Um, is there you said you're going to be doing the two retreats for Forever
Mm.
Family Foundation. What else do you have going up where people can see you or watch you, like television
So
shows or?
I do lives on Instagram. I try to do them every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock New York time. But every now and again, life gets in the way and some comes up and I can't do it. But I do. And my Instagram handle is my name, Joe Perreta. Same on TikTok. I will do TikTok lives eventually too once I get 1,000 followers, but I just don't use it enough, like ever. But I'm getting better. But anyway, so I do those. I do events at my friend's shop in the city in the Upper West Side. It's called My Little Magic Shop. If anyone is in the city or wants to come to that, I'll do group readings. I do Psychic 101 classes. I run a mediumship circle once a month. So I do all those. And actually, next summer, it's kind of far away, but I'm teaching at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur again. Beautiful, beautiful place. I don't know if anyone's ever been there. If you've ever been there, but it's so gorgeous. It looks like you're like in another country. It's beautiful. You're like up on the mountains and like the water's so blue. And I'm teaching with a friend. He does this like tuning into your like subconscious mind kind of thing by like through this writing method, and then I'm teaching intuition on top of it, like weaving them together.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a really fun weekend. I just did it this past August, and it was amazing. We had like 60 people attend, and it was like the biggest workshop one of the biggest they've ever had. Um, So I'm doing it again next year. I'm doing that. The Forever Family events. I don't have any scheduled yet, but I usually do the July and the October one. If anyone is grieving and wants to go to that, and then stuff all in the city on Long Island. I am doing more on Long Island again. I'm doing house group readings, like smaller groups. There's a yoga studio in Massapequa that I've done a few group readings recently that I actually have to reach out and do again, or Bethpage, whatever. I forget what town it was. So I'm kind of all over the place, but I'll post it, on my Instagram and all that stuff, so everyone knows, where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing.
And they can go to your website, which
and my website too. Yeah,
the bottom.
Yep, JoePerreta.com. I'm not tech savvy at all, so I don't usually post my events on the website because I just really don't know how. But my Instagram is the best place to be kept up to date.
Beautiful. And I want to say thank you to Joe for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice.
Beautiful conversation. And thank you for sharing that gift with Kayla. I'm sure she is very grateful. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of your lives and actually coming to any events that you have here on Long Island. That would just keep us all informed. That would be awesome.
Cool. Definitely.
And thank you. And I'm just going to put you in the green room. Don't go anywhere.
Cool.
I want to thank everyone who was able to join us this morning and talk about our lovely conversation regarding peace and how to bring it and how to find it. And join us next week at 11 a.m. and we'll discuss more about peace.